we need to talk about the MoonSwatch. The success of the MoonSwatch has been astronomical, pardon the pun. Lonely, confused people queue around the block for whatever new model Swatch decides to make, whether it's a new version with a chronograph hand that has strawberries on it, or a Peanuts collaboration a la the real Omega Moonwatch, with a cute little moon phase complication, complete with Snoopy snoozing away. Now, normally I review watches in what I'd like to think is an objective way, but obviously it's not, it's very much subjective, and this is no different. This is my take on the MoonSwatch. It's garbage. Not at first, but at some point it almost certainly will be. It's a cheaply made plastic watch, or bioceramic as Swatch likes to call it, which is in fact a bit less than half plastic and the rest a ceramic powder similar to what's used in dental work, according to Bloomberg. Still plastic. I don't want to spend too much time dwelling on the watch because I don't really think it's deserving of that time. It's a basic Swatch quartz chronograph. I can't talk about the finishing because really there is no finishing. It's plastic, or a little less than half plastic. I may as well explain how well done the perforations on a packet of Haribo are. It's got a 42mm diameter, like the real Moonwatch, a 47mm lug-to-lug, 20mm lug width, 13mm in height, and it weighs just 29 grams. It's got an acrylic, or again plastic, crystal, which seems like an oxymoron, and the water resistance isn't really worth noting. Just don't get wet in this, that's what I'll say, and avoid sweating if you can. Is it comfortable? Yeah, I mean, it weighs like nothing, so obviously it's kind of comfortable. That's despite the best efforts of the often stiff, always cheap feeling Velcro strap. This is the one place that Swatch really could have shown where my £240 went, but not even the strap has any redeemable quality. Needless to say, I don't credit the watch for that aforementioned comfort on the wrist. I mean, you make something out of plastic, or sorry, bioceramic, and it's gonna be light, so it's probably gonna be comfortable too. Beyond the obvious material differences, the MoonSwatch, unlike the real Omega Moonwatch, has a 60-minute scale at 10 o'clock as opposed to a 30-minute one at 3 o'clock, a running seconds sub-dial at 6 o'clock and not 9 o'clock, and a 1/10 of a second sub-dial at 2 o'clock with no 12-hour indicator. In terms of the design, they're the most striking differences, but hey, look, it says Omega and Speedmaster on the dial, but having Omega on the dial and Speedmaster on the appalling strap does not an Omega Speedmaster make, which is fine. I didn't expect to get anything resembling Omega quality for 240 quid, but I did at least expect some quality for 240 quid. Instead, you get a cheap looking, cheap feeling, and no doubt cheaply made toy, for want of a better word. The hands don't always line up, the box is just cheap cardboard, which is recyclable but forgettable. There are tons of stories online about the chronograph pushers coming loose, tachometer scales peeling off, and the colours bleeding off the cases. It's genuinely nigh on impossible to understand why this costs 240 quid and not like 50 quid. There is in fact a few reasons. Greed, shareholders, greedy shareholders, marketing, and the word Omega. Initially, this was just going to be a straightforward review, which I'm sure a lot of people who aren't even watching right now thought they were going to get. But as I was reading up on the MoonSwatch, which consists mainly of fluff pieces and client journalism, I stumbled across this article from Marketing Week. Before I discuss why I vehemently disagree with the sentiments expressed in this piece, I should say that I don't have anything against the journalist who wrote it or anything like that. I think we just have a fundamentally different view of what watches mean to us. I could have chosen any number of articles that encapsulate the tunnel vision that people have had about the MoonSwatch, but this one also encapsulates 3 things that I really hate about this hobby and the MoonSwatch's place in that context. Number 1, snobbishness. The writer starts with an anecdote about working at a Swiss watch company and feeling self-conscious about his, quote, offensive timepiece. Unless that watch had a swastika on it, or maybe the words live, laugh, love, then the chances are it wasn't offensive. It was probably just cheap, which isn't inherently bad. The writer's Swiss friend recommends a Speedmaster, and the rest is history. He no longer has to hide his watch because, quote, senior people from Rolex, Hublot, Zenith and Audemars Piguet exhibit the same affectionate, respectful look when they see a Speedmaster. These are clearly shallow, vacuous people. Nobody deserves respect because they do have a Speedmaster and don't have a Casio. They deserve respect because they're a human being. Don't change your watch, change the the people that you're hanging around with. This notion that now the MoonSwatch is here, people with this affordable watch can finally feel comfortable because it has Omega written on it, well, it's bullshit. If somebody's being judgmental about what you're wearing or what you can afford to the point where you actually feel ashamed and quite uncomfortable, then it's them that have the problem, not you. So that's the first thing. Moving on. Number 2, scalpers. If you have a MoonSwatch and you bought it directly from a Swatch store, then you probably paid the £207 asking price. In my case, £240 because they recently increased the RRP. If you bought it on eBay or Facebook Marketplace or from a spam bot account whose profile picture is a pair of Ray-Ban sunglasses, then you probably didn't pay that Swatch store RRP. You almost certainly paid more because opportunistic little slugs have been buying the MoonSwatch and then marking them up for insane prices that people will then pay because there's all this hype around the watches which, as we've already established, aren't even worth that RRP. The Marketing Weekly article states that, quote, scarcity might be the reason that most of the MoonSwatches are now on sale on eBay for 10 times the price they were purchased for. But perhaps the premium is also being driven by an efficient market, recognizing the true value of a ridiculously underpriced product. That is an absolutely unhinged take. That's categorically not what is happening. It's not underpriced, it's very much the opposite, it's very much overpriced. But this article and similar ones from countless other publications generates clicks and, in this case, hype. But that hype isn't just down to them, nor is it down to the YouTube algorithm or down to people like me talking about the MoonSwatch online, although we all have our part to play. We're all trying to chase numbers and generate buzz online. So that's all obviously part of it, but Swatch also have a big role to play. And that's my third issue, is Swatch's role in creating hype. Swatch know full well that something that looks like a Speedmaster, walks like a Speedmaster, and quacks like a Speedmaster is going to sell like crazy. But it isn't a duck. No, it isn't a Speedmaster. It's a Swatch, and it's the only one that I can't order on their website. Is that just a coincidence? Or has it been carefully planned in boardrooms and over Zoom meetings, knowing full well that it'll generate even more hype and more click-hungry journalists, watch enthusiasts, and ad revenue-starved content providers will help fuel the fire of conversation about the watches, and so the cycle will continue? That ad revenue-starved one is me, actually, so please subscribe. And no, of course, it's not a coincidence. Swatch initially said that the MoonSwatch would be available both in stores and online, but that's yet to happen even now in 2024. In the meantime, we'll have to make do with more and more industry fluff pieces, gushing about the new iterations, without talking about any of the obvious flaws or the cynical marketing that's got us here. The penultimate quote I'll lift from the article is this: not only is the MoonSwatch less than a tenth of the price, you could also make a strong argument that it might be the superior watch on many levels. Its high-tech, lightweight, and environmentally sound bioceramic case makes it far more innovative than the Speedmaster. Fuck off. You're probably wondering, if I hate this watch so much, and apparently an article that I only discovered when researching it, then why did I buy it? Because I'm a sucker, okay? I'm hoodwinked by marketing all the time. There's a cheap thrill in buying stuff where you almost know you're getting something absolutely shite. AliExpress, Primark, Amazon. But this isn't a cheap thrill. It's barely a thrill. It's sort of a thrill, maybe, for a bit, when you see the Omega logo that you've forever craved down on your wrist. But at the same time, you know that this watch, this half-plastic, dreadfully misaligned watch, will end up in landfill, just like the AliExpress 4K projector, or the Primark giraffe onesie, or the Amazon inflatable swimming pool. Say what you like about sustainability, that was a hell of a party. It's disposable tat, and we should be making more mindful decisions, both as businesses and consumers. Plus, that's not what watches should be. Watches, even those powered with a basic NH35 movement and that cost 50 quid, maybe from AliExpress, they can have those parts replaced and be restored almost no matter what state they're in. If your MoonSwatch dies, then Swatch will just replace it with another one made of about half plastic, and they'll continue recycling ideas for new iterations of the MoonSwatch without ever really recycling the materials that make them. We can do better, they can do better. I'll finish on this quote from Omega CEO Reinhold Eichlermann. I probably butchered the pronunciation of that, but he says on the MoonSwatch, "It's important to keep it in perspective. It's a fun project and adds some light to an industry that can take itself too seriously." And I couldn't agree more. But the word fun is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Even if we do consider this 240 quid project a bit of fun, that doesn't give you a free pass to make a shoddy product, ripping off loyal fans and using underhanded tactics to help it fly off the shelves. So that's it. Those are my thoughts on the MoonSwatch. And I don't really know what I'm going to do with it now, to be honest. Probably sell it, make a few quid.